Welcome to today's explainer. If you live in or around Iredell County, you might just look at your roof as another part of your house, right? Well, think again. The reality is that the local Mooresville weather is an active antagonist. It's launching a year-round assault against the shelter over your head. Today, we're breaking down the exact science of roofing survival. We're going to look at exactly what nature is throwing at your home, and more importantly, how the experts at 5-Star Roofing Charlotte engineer specific solutions to fight back and win.
Okay, let's dive into our roadmap for today. We'll be covering Mooresville's unique weather threats, how the climate destroys your roof, why building codes actually fall short, engineering a weatherproof roof, and finally, protecting your roofing investment. Let's get right to it.
Section 1. Mooresville's unique weather threats, focusing on the Lake Norman microclimate. Let's start with the villain of our story.
We usually just think of weather as rain or shine, but Mooresville sits in this wild, very unique zone. The Lake Norman microclimate is an environment where brutal humidity constantly collides with unpredictable severe storms and, surprisingly, shifting earth. This isn't just your standard weather. It's a constant, year-round assault on your home's primary defense system.
So here are these specific antagonists literally attacking your home. First up, we've got the constant moisture from lake effect humidity, which just never gives your house a break. Then the sudden high wind and hail-producing thunderstorms of spring and summer. Following that, we get those harsh winter freeze-thaw cycles that expand and contract your roofing materials. And finally, something that might actually surprise you, Piedmont clay soil settlement. The very ground beneath your foundation shifts with moisture changes, which actively impacts the roof high above your head.
Moving on to Section 2, how climate destroys your roof, the anatomy of failure. Now let's actually look at how these natural enemies systematically break down your home's defenses.
When severe wind and hail hit, they don't just look scary. They physically rip your shingles right off and dent up your metal components. And that constant lake effect humidity, it's silently accelerating algae growth and wood rot in your roof decking. During winter, the freeze-thaw cycle actively lifts up and cracks any shingles that were already compromised. Plus, the settling of that super dense Piedmont clay actually stresses the structural connections up on your roof. It cracks the flashing and creates these really dangerous leak points right at the valleys of your home. It is literally a coordinated attack.
Section 3. Why building codes fall short, or as we call it, the minimum standard myth. This brings us to a massive myth-busting moment.
If you think building your roof to the standard North Carolina state code is enough to survive here, you are in for a total shock. The state code mandates that roofs in this zone withstand 110 mph winds, meaning you use 4 fasteners or nails per shingle. But listen, severe thunderstorms in Mooresville regularly exceed those speeds. To prevent massive blow-offs during those sudden storms, the experts at 5-Star Roofing Charlotte completely ignore that code minimum. They engineer their roofs using an enhanced pattern of 6 fasteners per shingle and actually hand-seal the tabs in high-exposure areas. It takes way more time and labor, sure, but it keeps your roof attached when the weather gets violent.
Now, I want you to imagine a number hovering right above your ceiling right now. 150 degrees. In the dead of a North Carolina summer, the air trapped inside your attic can easily hit 150 degrees. That is a massive, highly destructive heat load. If that heat can't escape, it literally bakes your shingles and rots your roof decking from the inside out, not to mention drastically driving up your home cooling bills. And because of that insane 150-degree heat, the code minimum ventilation becomes dangerously inadequate. State code only requires 1 square foot of ventilation for every 150 square feet of attic space, but in reality, that simply isn't enough to move that massive thermal load. That's exactly why experts upgrade that ratio to 1:100, combining ridge vents with proper soffit intake. This increased airflow actively exhausts the heat and moisture. Without it, you're basically looking at premature roof failure, no matter how great your shingles are.
All right, Section 4, engineering a weatherproof roof, fighting back with building science. Let's see how proper engineering fights back against these specific local elements. The absolute secret weapon here is moisture barriers. When high winds inevitably compromise a shingle, you've got to have a backup plan. By installing a full-deck synthetic underlayment, rather than just putting it in the valleys like some contractors do, you create a complete secondary weatherproof barrier. Combine that with enhanced ice and water shields that go way beyond code minimums, and you've got a system engineered specifically to repel the intense driving rain and humidity of the Lake Norman area.
But hey, engineering isn't just about the materials, right? It's about the process when disaster inevitably strikes. Survival means relying on a super streamlined, rapid response process. Step 1. Immediate inspection and tarping, usually within 24 hours, to stop water infiltration dead in its tracks. Step 2 ensures quality repairs following strict manufacturer specs, absolutely no cutting corners. And Step 3 is the final verification, a thorough walkthrough to make sure everything meets quality standards and preserves your crucial warranty protection.
Section 5. Protecting your roofing investment. Maintenance and longevity. We've talked about the threats and the engineering, so now, how do you take back control?
Well, these rapid-fire maintenance steps are absolutely non-negotiable in this specific climate if you want to extend the life of your roof up to that 20 to 25-year mark. You need to inspect your roof twice yearly, ideally in the spring and fall. Clean your gutters quarterly to stop water backup. Actually get up into your attic and check for water stains or daylight showing through the boards. Keep those overhanging branches trimmed back, and gently remove any moss or algae. Remember, that stuff thrives in our local humidity and literally eats away at your materials.
I really want to highlight a quote directly from the experts at 5-Star Roofing Charlotte. Shortcuts lead to premature failure in our humid climate. This is just a fundamental truth of homeownership in Iredell County. From inadequate ventilation to skipping a few nails on a shingle, nature is actively testing your home's limits every single day out here. You simply cannot settle for minimum standards when the stakes are this high.
So, I want you to look up at your own ceiling right now and ask yourself one final, absolutely critical question. Is your roof built for the code, or is it built for the climate? Because in Mooresville, North Carolina, those are two very, very different things. Thanks so much for joining me for this explainer, and I really hope this gives you the knowledge you need to protect your biggest investment. Catch you next time.